Hey guys, welcome back to this video. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've prepared a special story for you, a story that will not only entertain you, but also help you improve your English listening skills. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we dive into the journey of a man who wanted to learn English. Once upon a time, in a small town, there lived a man named Omar. Omar was a hard-working man, but he always felt that something was missing in his life. He had a dream to speak English fluently. He believed that if he could learn English, he would open doors to new opportunities, better jobs, new friendships, and maybe even the chance to travel around the world. But there was one problem. Omar didn't know where to begin. He had tried reading English books, but the words felt difficult and confusing. He tried watching English movies, but the characters spoke too fast, and he couldn't understand much. Many times, he thought of giving up and telling himself that maybe English was just not for him. One evening, while sitting in a quiet cafe, Omar overheard two tourists speaking English. He couldn't understand every word, but he caught small phrases like, "How are you?" and "Thank you so much." At that moment, something lit up inside him. He thought to himself, if I can understand a few words now, maybe one day I can understand everything. From that day forward, Omar decided to change his approach. Instead of trying to learn everything at once, he started small. Every morning, he woke up early, stood in front of his mirror, and practiced simple sentences. He would say, "I am Omar. I am learning English. I can do this." At first, it felt strange, even a little embarrassing, but with time, he grew more confident. Slowly, Omar began to carry a small notebook with him everywhere he went. Whenever he heard a new English word, he wrote it down. In the market, he heard the word apple. On the bus, he heard someone say ticket. At work, a colleague taught him the word computer. Step by step, his vocabulary grew, and his notebook became full of words that made him proud. One day, Omar met an old friend who had just returned from London. His friend spoke English with confidence, and Omar felt shy, but he decided to practice. He said slowly, "Hello, my name is Omar. How are you?" His friend smiled warmly and replied in English. For the first time, Omar felt the magic of conversation. It was not perfect, but it was real, and that moment gave him even more motivation. Weeks turned into months, and Omar began to watch English videos with subtitles. At first, he relied heavily on the subtitles, but after a while he noticed something surprising. He could understand without reading every word. He even started to repeat the sentences out loud, copying the way native speakers moved their lips, how they stressed certain words, and how they used intonation. He would sit in front of his phone or television and mimic the speakers as if he were part of the conversation. It felt silly at first, but he soon realized this practice was making him sound more natural. Of course, Omar still made mistakes. Sometimes he used the wrong tense. Sometimes he forgot words. Once, he even said, "I am boring," instead of "I am bored," and his friends laughed kindly. But Omar did not give up. He realized that mistakes were not failures, they were lessons. He understood that every mistake was proof that he was trying, and every correction was a step closer to fluency. After a year of consistent practice, Omar felt a huge change. He could now introduce himself confidently, order food in restaurants, ask for directions, and even tell short stories in English. His dream was no longer far away, it was becoming reality. One evening, as Omar sat with his notebook, he wrote a message to himself. He wrote, "Dear Omar, you have proved that learning English is not about being perfect. It is about being brave, consistent, and patient. Never stop learning." And so, Omar's journey continues. He is still learning, still improving, and still growing every day. His story teaches us that learning English or any language is like planting a tree. At first, the seed is small and weak, but with water, sunlight, and care, it grows into something strong and beautiful. Omar's life changed the moment he decided not to give up, and your life can change too if you take the same steps. Remember, just like Omar, you don't need to learn everything in one day. Start small, be patient, and enjoy the journey, because every word you learn is a step forward. Omar woke up early every morning, and his first habit was to greet himself in the mirror. "Good morning, Omar. Today, you will learn something new," he would say. Then, he would pick up his notebook and review the words he had learned the day before. Sometimes it was just 5 words, sometimes 10. But he learned that consistency mattered more than quantity. Slowly, these small efforts became part of his daily routine, almost like brushing his teeth or having breakfast. In the mornings, Omar also listened to simple English podcasts while making his coffee. At first, it sounded like a jumble of sounds, but he focused on catching 1 or 2 words each day. Words like morning, coffee, walk, and friend started to stick in his mind. He would pause the recording, repeat the words aloud, and try to use them in a sentence. For example, he would say, "I drink coffee in the morning," or "I walk to work every day." These small sentences built his confidence slowly but steadily. One afternoon, Omar went to a local park and noticed a group of young students speaking English with each other. He felt nervous at first, but he reminded himself of his goal. He approached them and asked politely, "Hello, can I join your group?" The students smiled and welcomed him warmly. At first, he only listened, catching a few words here and there, like play, game, and fun. Then, he tried saying, "I like this game." His accent was not perfect, and he stumbled over a few words, but the students encouraged him and repeated his sentences correctly. This small moment gave Omar a huge boost of confidence, and he realized that speaking with others, even imperfectly, was one of the fastest ways to learn. At work, Omar also started using English whenever possible. He wrote short notes in English to remind himself of tasks. He greeted his colleagues with "Good morning" and asked simple questions like "How are you today?" and "Can you help me?" Some colleagues laughed at his mistakes at first, but most were kind and patient, correcting him gently. Omar learned that being brave in speaking, even with mistakes, was far better than staying silent. One evening, Omar decided to challenge himself. He went to a small bookstore and picked up an English storybook for beginners. He tried to read aloud, sounding out each word carefully. Some sentences were confusing, and some words were completely new, but he underlined them in his notebook and looked up their meanings later. That night, he read aloud in front of his mirror for half an hour, pretending he was telling a story to someone else. It felt tiring, but it was also exciting because he realized he could read and understand sentences he couldn't even imagine a few months ago. Weekends were Omar's favorite time for learning English because he had more freedom. He would watch English movies with subtitles, pausing to repeat phrases he liked. He started imitating actors, copying their pronunciation, rhythm, and even their hand gestures. Sometimes his baby nephew was nearby, and Omar would speak English to him, saying, "Hello, little one, and do you want water?" It made him smile, and he realized that speaking English could be playful, fun, and not just serious learning. One day, Omar joined an online English chat group. He typed sentences slowly, sometimes correcting them multiple times before sending. Other learners from around the world encouraged him, and gradually he started typing faster and more confidently. They shared tips, videos, and stories, and Omar felt part of a larger community of learners. He realized he wasn't alone in this journey, and that motivated him even more. Months passed, and Omar began noticing changes in himself. He could hold longer conversations, understand English songs, and even follow English news videos. One special moment came when he traveled to London for the first time. At the airport, he confidently asked for directions, bought a ticket, and even had a short chat with a taxi driver about the weather. For the first time, he felt that his dream had truly become real. Even now, Omar still practices every day. He knows that learning a language is not about reaching an endpoint, but about enjoying the process and improving little by little. He smiles when he remembers the days when he struggled with simple words, because he now sees how far he has come. Omar's story teaches us that patience, consistency, courage, and small daily actions can create big results. And so, Omar continues his journey, inspiring everyone around him, proving that learning English, or any language, is not just about studying, but about living it, making mistakes, and celebrating small victories every day. Just like Omar, you can start small, be brave, and step by step, you will achieve your goals. Remember, every word you learn, every sentence you speak, and every mistake you make is part of your path to success. And that's the story of Omar and his journey to learn English. I hope it inspired you and reminded you that learning a language is all about patience, consistency, and enjoying the process. If you like this story, Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment to share your thoughts or your own English learning experiences. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.